It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. Alan, I saw you talking on the morning rush this morning and just talking about how you got basically nothing in your calendar. So how's it feel?
It's good. It's good. Hey, we're gonna got some breaking news here. Speaking of things in my calendar, Alan Saunders of Steelers Now has been approved to cover the week of Super Bowl LIX in New Orleans.
No,
not for the game, sadly.
Yeah,
couldn't get a game pass, but
Radio Row.
Yeah, gonna be bringing it from New Orleans, which should be a lot of fun. I'm fired up about that.
So this was this is the first one, correct?
Yeah, this will be the first one. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that dope to see. Can't wait to see what comes of that, and how this podcast operates with you being there as well. So very excited for that. That's breaking news to me as well as everybody watching, listening to this. So by the time this comes out, I'll have had like maybe a 40-minute jump on you guys finding out. But either way, very exciting stuff over there. Alan, the first thing I want to do, actually, these are not questions, but we got a couple comments. One on the YouTube comments, one DM to me, that are just people that appreciate the podcast, and we appreciate you guys. We love the feedback. And when it's comments like the ones I'm about to read to you, you're going to see why we wanted to read these. I'll start with mine because honestly, the one that we got on the YouTube is just even more expansive. But Alex Brodsky DM me and said, coming from someone that watches all of the Steelers podcasts, Carter's, DK's, Matt Williamson, Moats and West, Batco, etc., literally all of them. Just wanted to say your show with Alan has been the best Steelers podcast out there, especially recently since the season ended. You both balance recognizing the reality of the team issues while offering realistic solutions, unlike the doom and gloom takes that I hear elsewhere. Appreciate the work that you're doing, so I continue to follow along this off season. I feel like Alex might be a relatively newer finder of this show. I don't know if he watches or listens, but either way, we certainly appreciate that, because something tells me that this is like his first off-season taste of the Steelers Afternoon Drive. We obviously didn't know how that was going to work last off-season. We even talked about maybe doing it like 2 days a week, 3 days a week. Ended up still being Monday through Friday. Went swimmingly, was awesome to do. So Alex, stay along for the drive.
There you go. You got another one you want to read?
Yeah, this one from Varzak, because I just love how
I've read this
it starts out. Honestly, I think it's a crime that you aren't at 100,000 subscribers. Hey, maybe one day we can hit that 15K mark first. You got a few things that most channels don't have. First, you are a reporter who talks to all of the players. Most channels just use clips of other people's work to talk. Hell, I can do that. Secondly, you aren't into the BS fluff. An example is this very story. Did you try to sensationalize the Arthur Smith and Russ story? Nope. You just put into perspective, analyzing the facts and what you thought the outcome would be, and it wasn't based on emotion. Lastly, when I watch someone for information, I try to gauge how that person processes new information and how they walk me through their analysis to get to the hypothesis. I appreciate your work, and in all sincerity, I think you are the best that's covering this team. You remind me of a young Bob Labriola. So Bob getting a shout out within this as well.
I'm not young enough to remember, and I'm not old enough to, I don't remember what young Bob Labriola was like. Sorry, Labs, for the age-related stray there. But yeah, man, appreciate the compliments. Means a lot. Really does.
Yeah, absolutely. And we say, you say good words about us, probably going to end up getting read on here. So keep those coming, even if there's no question attached to it.
We are nothing if not consistent. 14,805 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Just went over that mark today. We need like 200 more, y'all. Just jump in. I guarantee there are people that listen to this every day that are not subscribed.
Yeah, I see there's about 60% of people that watch this show that aren't subscribed on the YouTube. I don't know how that's, I feel like everybody says that, so I don't know if that's just like consistent. They just throw that number out there or what. That's what it shows me in the analytics of this show, is that's the case on this channel. So hopefully you guys are subscribing. Be sure to do so right down below on this. It's free, costs you absolutely nothing to do, and supports the podcast. It's the best way to do so. So be sure to do that. Gonna get into some questions. It's gonna be more of a thing of getting some questions from the YouTube stuff. I got DM'd one actually that we didn't get to yesterday, and then just some, I guess, kind of new stuff to talk about as well. We'll start there. We've already kind of touched on this. We knew that it was going to happen in the past, that Artie Smith was going to be getting a couple interviews for head coaching jobs. One of those took place today, the time of recording this, with the Chicago Bears set to meet with the New York Jets regarding their head coaching vacancy tomorrow. I guess we've kind of already given our takes on that, but is there anything that hasn't been said already about Arthur Smith's head coaching candidacy that's kind of on your mind right now as we sit here?
Yeah, I just kind of looked through the list of guys, the 18 interviews for the Bears, 16 interviews for the Jets, which just feels absurdly high to me. Like, I just don't know how you can't narrow it down more than that on your own. It's a strange process for both teams. The Cowboys haven't interviewed anybody. One guy, Dion, I guess, has been talked about. I don't really.
What's his name? Why am I blanking on it? He was just the Jets. Oh, Robert Saleh.
Oh, Robert Saleh
in Dallas. Yeah.
I would be kind of surprised if Arthur Smith lands either of these jobs. Seems like there's some more smoke around the Jets job, but it just I don't know. I'm not seeing like him being the top candidate of these groups. I'm also not sure if he would even take the Jets job, considering his last experience in Atlanta and how much of a mess that franchise has been.
Yeah. ESPN though predicted that he would land the Jets job, and that's kind of where this question goes to. So I want to tie this into the conversation. Smitty question for a future show. ESPN predicts Art Smith to be the Jets' next head coach. How would you feel about Mike McCarthy as the OC if he were to not land a head coaching opportunity elsewhere? I think one thing that he did really well was moving guys around. The way that he moved Lamb around would get him into the slot and get him some free releases. I think that could do wonders for George Pickens, assuming that he's here, as well as the utilization of Jake Ferguson. I think the Pat Freiermuth could be utilized in a similar fashion.
Yeah, sign me up. I think Mike McCarthy would be a very overqualified offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, yeah, absolutely. Bring it on. That'd be great.
Somebody, they were talking on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. I almost said Pat Freiermuth right there. Talking on the Pat McAfee show yesterday about it, because, you know, if McCarthy doesn't land, he's, you know, the Bears talked about a lot there. I think the Saints were also mentioned within there. For whatever reason, he would not land one of those two where could be a spot for him, or could he end up going the OC route? And then Pittsburgh got thrown out for him just because obviously the ties there, whether, you know, maybe it's just one and done if he doesn't become part of this cycle, just kind of like a 1-year rehab thing before getting back into the cycle next year. But then obviously it gets thrown out there. Could a pairing with Aaron Rodgers make sense if Mike McCarthy were to become the offensive coordinator here? It's a name that honestly I think probably should be, like, if it's not a quarterback that was already on the roster last year in Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, whether people like it or not, I actually think would be right up there with the external candidates.
Yeah, I mean, I broke down 28 external candidates for SteelersNow.com today. And I got to say, like, I ordered them by the betting odds, like what it's supposed to be most likely. And Rodgers is not at the top. Sam Darnold and Jalen Milroe, both more likely. I actually really, I think there's some value in Aaron Rodgers at plus 900 here. I think he is, of the guys that like are almost definitely going to be on the market, I think he is the only one to me that looks like someone that could act like, and I don't even think he's good. I was saying before this season that like the Jets were going to stink and Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be a big reason why. Like, I don't even think he's good anymore, but like, I would rather have Aaron Rodgers than Kirk Cousins. I would rather have Aaron Rodgers than Daniel Jones or Derek Carr or Will Levis, or like, I just, yeah, I it's certainly one of the options.
It's just kind of hard for me to weigh what he would look like behind this offensive line, because we don't know how different this offensive line is going to look like either. Like, you know, we expect Troy Fautanu to step in. Yeah, but and he's not, you know, he's going to be playing his first act. I know he got limited time this year before the injury, but like, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to just expect this offensive line takes a huge leap right off the bat next season. And I can't imagine 40-plus-year-old Aaron Rodgers standing in the pocket behind it.
He's the most sacked quarterback in NFL history. He did not, you know, he kept his completion percentage up, but he did not throw the ball down the field at all this year. 6.8 ADOT, a full yard down from 2022. That's not, it's not great, but I'm telling you, there's 28 names on that list, and ain't none of them great. So
package deal with Devontae Adams again, though.
Did it work for those other people? No,
Yeah,
but it just might work for us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the old meme. I guess the question for me is like, how much could Mike McCarthy still get out of Aaron Rodgers even at this point in his career? Like, that's the question that I would have.
I don't know. I don't think you would have to. I think you could hire Mike McCarthy without having to have Aaron Rodgers.
I agree. I'm just saying if
I think there's
whatever
plenty,
reason we're talking about
Russ and Dak are probably like the most similar to one another quarterbacks out there. Like if you really like, I think Russ would be a decent fit for a Mike McCarthy offense. So
going down another path, right? Like it sounds like it's not going to happen, but if Dion were to become the Cowboys head coach and then he wants Shador and they're willing to trade up to do that from 10 and get more capital to do so, and Dak becomes on the market, like another scenario where
I put Dak in there, not because it's not good, because I don't think it's likely, but that is like the best case scenario is that they find a way to trade for Dak Prescott.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The other part of this, though, that I was kind of
pretty sure that if the Cowboys trade Dak Prescott, his cap hit actually goes up. That's how much dead cap they would have, that it actually hurts their cap situation.
Jeez. Okay. Well, the other part of this, I wanted to keep separate because it's a separate thought, really, was, basically just completely revamping the coordinators. So Arthur Smith goes to the Jets as the head coach. Mike McCarthy becomes the offensive coordinator. What are your thoughts about Antonio Pierce as a DC? I know that you guys talked about him as a defensive assistant, but as a DC, do you think he's qualified for that role? And what type of defensive assistant would need to be paired with him?
Heck yeah. No, and Antonio Pierce would be a really good defensive coordinator for Pittsburgh Steelers. It'd be a really good senior defensive assistant. I think it could work either way. They would need to put somebody with a secondary background with him if they were going to hire him. But man, I think that would be really good. Like that's a guy they should absolutely be trying to find a way, one way or another, to bring into Pittsburgh. And like the thing about TA is like, and maybe we can. There's another question kind of on this topic that maybe we can discuss. But like. I don't think you necessarily have to fire Terrell Austin to fix the defense if you bring in someone to just fix the front seven. Like, I think that would be probably good enough. I don't know about the contract thing. Like, if he's under contract, like, are you bet? Like, here's the thing. Let's say you can get Antonio Pierce to come as a senior defensive assistant, and you can pair him with Terrell Austin. Is that better than just firing Terrell Austin, hiring Antonio Pierce, and not having any more money in your budget to hire anybody else? Probably not. Probably not. I think I'd rather have them both than just one of the. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. If you can, I guess, sell that way, like, would Pierce go for that? I guess is the question, right? Or
I don't know.
Feel like right. Yeah, I don't know. We're talking about the Raiders, though. I think that's an interesting way to tie this part in, and then we'll come back to something that involves kind of some shuffling that could take place. But Shelton White interviewing for the Raiders GM job, I think, is very interesting because we were kind of expecting. I mean, maybe you thought that he would get some GM looks. I just keep waiting for Andy Weidel to get some GM looks that haven't come, at least in this cycle yet. But Shelton White, what could you tell us about the work that Shelton White has done for the Steelers and his GM candidacy?
Yeah, Sheldon has done the sort of NFL GM Accelerator program, I want to say twice now. Really well-connected guy. Cody White, do you remember Cody White, the practice squad wide receiver? That's his father.
Seattle.
So well-connected guy, well-liked guy. Cynically, I will mention that he unfortunately does help them fulfill their Rooney Rule requirement in a way that Andy Weidel does not. I don't know if that is their motivation or not, but I think it's to the point where you always kind of get suspect when you hear these things. I don't want to say I'm surprised that Sheldon White got a GM job, but I think, or GM interview, but I think it would be surprised if he ended up getting the job.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat, at least for right now. I hope for him that he gets it. It seems like he's got a good track record. They've spoken highly about him within the organization. And not that I want to lose him or anything like that, but Steelers would get compensation draft wise if he were to get that job at the Raiders, correct?
What is it? 2/3, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's significant.
That is definitely significant. Again, not saying that I want to lose him to another organization, but we're talking about where this team is at right now and needing to add talent to this roster. That's certainly a way to do so that you're not necessarily expecting to have right now.
Yeah, for sure.
We got a question, and this was, I want to say this was on Monday, maybe the first episode of the offseason, where it was like, what is reasonable change that we could expect to take place this offseason? I thought it was an interesting question. This person, and this is a well-known person on the channel, Berg Sports Fan, came back with, what's the inverse of that? What is a splash move that we think is somewhat possible for them to make? They even threw a couple scenarios out there to get our takes on. Could a Minka Fitzpatrick trade happen? Could a Patrick Queen cut happen after just 1 year in a 3-year deal where they kind of structured it to be able to move on from him after 1 year? What do we think? What's our take?
I just appreciate the okay, thanks for the reasonable answer. What are the unreasonable options? That's what I'm here for. I only want to know about the things that are crazy. I don't leave your rational analysis behind, folks. Let's go. Yeah. I guess Dak is one that's unlikely. Some other maybe things that I don't think people would see coming. Signing a guard and cutting Isaac Seumalo. I think I would be surprised by that, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I didn't think Seumalo was great this year.
He's just got stretches, man. He'll look like their best offensive lineman, and then he'll have a month where he just.
Let me say this also: it would not totally shock me if Seumalo decides he's done.
I was going to ask you if he. Yep.
That wouldn't really surprise me either. So that would be a surprising move that I don't think a lot of people would be expecting. They could trade Minka Fitzpatrick. It's a very tradable contract right now. That leaves them almost no dead money. I'm skeptical, but I guess it's possible that could happen. What else am I thinking that
what do you think they threw out the Patrick Queen there as well?
I can't see that. I think Patrick Queen's a really good player. I don't see him going anywhere. Yeah.
TJ just 1 year left on his deal.
I think TJ's getting an extension. I would be.
So would that be on the side then of, things that we don't think are necessarily possible, but is them not extend him? That's dangerous.
Yeah, he's coming back. He's coming back. He's getting an extension. That's going to happen. I feel really.
And it also, to me, I mean, do it sooner rather than later. Myles Garrett's talking could use an extension. Micah Parsons obviously looking for an extension. I think he could be getting into dangerous territory the longer they wait on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. How about sign and or draft another tackle with a fair amount of capital? I think they'll probably just roll with the two young guys, but there is an amount of risk there.
Yes.
And I expect them to bring in somebody, but somebody that has started, signing someone of a starting caliber or drafting someone relatively highly, I think would be really surprising to people. And I would not put that totally out of consideration. I think Larry Ogunjobi has been talked about enough as a kind of a potential cap.
Same with a George trade, right? I mean, that's not.
Yeah, same idea. Cole Holcomb, I doubt he'll be back at the number he has on paper right now. If he is back, it'll be at a different figure. Preston Smith is almost certainly going to get cut. And so when you talk about the salary cap number, you can throw in an extra 10 million because he's not going to be back at that number for sure. So you have that. A couple positions that I don't think people are talking about that I think could see some attention earlier than people expect in the draft, or maybe with more free agent money than people would be expecting, would be tight end and safety. Like DeMonte KZ is a free agent. I think he's generally done a pretty nice job, but like not that young anymore. That could be a place where they could look to like find some younger, better depth. And I did not think that the tight ends below Pat Freiermuth as receivers did much of anything this year. And I think as much as they used him and as big of a part of the offense as he is, they really don't have any functional backup for him. And they should probably go out and find a tight end that might actually be able to do that instead of collecting special teamers and guys that can just block.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the depth that they had in the room. Like, they were 5 tight ends deep that we thought were NFL players to start the season. When you talked about Pat, Darnell, Michael Pruitt, Connor Hayward, and then Hot Rod, obviously. But like each one of that, like it's just so specialized, right? And like as a pass catcher, if you go into 12 and 13 personnel and you only got one guy that you can really say like that's a threat in the pass game, it makes your life difficult, I feel like. So yeah, I mean, I could certainly see it. At some point, I'm just trying to find like where that sweet spot would be, because I wouldn't think that that's obviously like a first, second, even
I'm
third
just thinking
round.
like a comparison to like a Mason McCormick, right? Where that pick surprised a lot of people because people weren't thinking guard. That was in the 4th round. I think you could see tight end or safety there, and that would surprise a lot of people. I don't think it should come totally out of left field, though.
I do wonder, like I haven't looked at the free agent class. I wonder if there's maybe because that's what I'm gonna do right now. I wonder if there's maybe like a free agent that's like a pass catching specialist. Like, they're not going to offer anything in the blocking game, but you can line him up in the slot.
I think Gesicki's a free agent.
He is. Yeah, you're right.
So
I know for sure that he is.
That would be one for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely something to keep an eye on. We actually can't wait to start talking more about the draft, but we can save that for a later time. As it relates to the draft, Alan, you told me this shortly before we started recording that you had a take that you wanted to get off your chest on here regarding tanking. I don't even know what this take is, but you wanted to get my thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, we talked a little bit yesterday about how like I don't think tanking works. And it's interesting because I had somebody push back at me against this and said, well, look at the Texans and the Commanders and what they've done the last 2 years, going from the 2nd overall pick into 2nd round of the playoffs, and saying, hey, look, like this can be successful. What do you think about that?
I think that I'd classify them more as like an anomaly and not necessarily something that's like based off a blueprint for,
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing in twofold. Like, one, like, yeah, that's not really usually the way it works. If you go back and look at the Super Bowl champions, like the Chiefs did not have a year where they were picking highly before they got good. The Bucks did, but it wasn't even because of that. They just signed Tom Brady. Like, it didn't have anything to do with the fact that I think they had 7 wins the year before they went to the Super Bowl or something like that, maybe 5 the year before that. The Rams did have some bad years, but they were way ahead of their Super Bowl years, and their run got sparked by the trade of several of them actually, but trading for Stafford and Jalen Ramsey, and they weren't good because none of those teams that won those Super Bowls were ever good because they tanked. Like, what was the last Super Bowl winner from tanking? And like it doesn't happen. Like, I know people talk about it all the time, and like, can you make your team better that way? Yeah, in the short term, but like it doesn't really work. That like you say like, oh, here's the team, then we're gonna get bad, then we're gonna go up and go win a Super Bowl. Like, that's not usually the way it goes.
Who was the last team that you could even like clearly say was tanked? Pat McAfee talks about the Colts for luck. Like, they definitely were, but like not just being bad. Like you can't just look at the roster and say that team was necessarily tanking. I think it's very clear when a team is doing so. So who's the last team that even was like visibly tanking, even had like moderate levels, not even winning a Super Bowl, just like was even good? Obviously, Andrew Luck did great things with the Colts in a very short period of time.
Like, and there's like different levels of this too. Like if you get to like 7-7 and you're like, we're out of it, let's try to lose these last 2 games. Like to me, that's very different than like going into a season, because like the Eagles did that, remember, before their Super Bowl, where they were like losing the last week on purpose to try to get a better draft. But like 1 or 2 weeks is very different than saying like, hey, we're going for the number 1 pick this year. Like that to me is just it doesn't happen and it doesn't work. Like I can't even think of like it working. Those Eagles did, like, they were bad and then got good, but like they were bad for years in between coaching staffs there, where man, I don't know, that's just tough.
I was going through here just looking at all the Super Bowl recent matchups, and I'm just like trying to figure out who was even like a bad team, like bad to that level where they had a top pick and then was in a Super Bowl shortly afterwards. And I'm not really seeing it here. What were the Falcons like before they got Matt Ryan?
But again, didn't win the Super Bowl with Ryan.
No.
Like that's the other thing, is like we're talking about saying that the Steelers way doesn't work and that you should give up that, be bad on purpose to get to where the Texans and Commanders are, which is 1 game ahead of the Steelers. Like they haven't won anything with this plan either, and they may not ever. Like, I mean, I like what they've done, but like there's no guarantee here.
Yeah. No, I absolutely.
Falcons before Ryan. When did they draft Matt Ryan? Like
2008.
Yeah. So I mean, that was when they hired Bobby Petrino. They were a disaster.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
But like they certainly weren't tanking, but they did struggle. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that a lot of people like have a hard time even understand like what tanking is. Like it's not just losing. Like and it's also like you're not going to get the buy-in from the players to do so. Like it's at an upper level.
No, you got to
like,
ship out all your good players.
Yeah.
Like it's just not possible to
Mm-hmm.
be good. Like you can be bad and tank to get worse. Like that's what the Eagles did. They were already a bad team and they tried to lose some more games on top of it. You can't take a good team and make it bad. And the Steelers are a good team. Like not only like is it not a good idea, it would be almost impossible to make it happen.
Yep. Absolutely. So and I don't think that that's the path forward for this team. I don't think it will ever be for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's not commonplace league wide anyway. Somebody mentioned one more quarterback name actually before we get out of here. A team that picked early last year, got what they hope is their franchise quarterback, the New England Patriots. They picked high again this year, but last year, despite taking Drake May early, they took another quarterback that got a look at the end of the season just because they weren't going to play Drake May in a meaningless game, and he got beat up quite a bit down the stretch too. Joe Milton out of Tennessee. What is your take on Joe Milton? Would he be an interesting project? Was he even part of your 28 names listed in your article?
He was not. I don't think the Patriots would have any interest in trading him. I mean, I guess I probably should have put him in there because I put some pretty unrealistic stuff in there. But I also just I do not think Joe Milton is any good. His Senior Bowl workouts are probably the worst quarterback workouts I've ever seen. Like the ball was going into the stands. He's done okay with the Patriots, but way better than I thought he would, for sure. I can't. I'm not sure I can get past that.
He's fun, right? Like he's an exciting player and he has like some physical tools, so it's easy to get excited about those things. Like that is the type of player that is easier to get excited about than a guy that is a better like mental processor of the game and is more accurate, but doesn't have those like elite traits that pop off the page to you on a physical level. So like that's what like he could be a way worse quarterback, which I think that we both agree that he is, than some of the names that we've listed.
He's
but
a
he's more
way
exciting.
worse quarterback than like Jarrett Stidham, but nobody wants Jarrett Stidham. Like nobody asks about him, right? But he's a far better player than Joe Milton is. But Joe Milton's 6'6" and can throw the ball 1,000 yards and runs like the wind, so people want to see him. Can I go on a rant here off topic? Maybe sort of kind of. Players like Joe Milton are why the NFL and the UFL need to come to some kind of agreement to let players that are on NFL rosters participate, at least some, like at least one or two guys. Like absolutely I would go watch Joe Milton ball out for like the St. Louis Battlehawks. Like that would be entertaining as all get out. And that's what he needs to get better. Joe Milton is not getting better at being a quarterback, being New England's scout team guy. Like the opportunities for NFL, you have these huge practice squads now. You're carrying like almost 80 guys all through the year. Like these guys are back year after year for the NFL, and they never get to play. They're playing 3 preseason games, which is probably going down to 2 soon. Like you got to give these guys an opportunity to get on the field, put some shoulder pads on, and experience some successes and some failures that they can grow and develop from. I absolutely think that NFL teams need to be allowed to let some players play in the UFL, and Joe Milton would 100% be one of those guys.
You brought that up before, and I think that he is a perfect example of why that would make sense. And also because of the position he plays, and he's not required to do anything else. Like when he's inactive or as the backup and doesn't get into a game, like you don't worry about the wear and tear either of like a longer season. So it's not like he's going into this game going into the UFL having played 17 games, 18 weeks of this grueling NFL schedule. Sure, he's gone through the practices and stuff like that. It's probably more of like a mental battle to stay within that regimen and everything like that. But I'm sure he would appreciate getting those reps continued throughout too. So
you could almost make a rule where like however many games a guy played in the NFL that year, like he can't play more than 17, right? So like if like Joe Milton, how many, so if you played more than 7 games, then you can't play the whole UFL season. It's 10-game season. Like then you would have to pick and choose your reps.
Okay.
But Joe Milton played 1 game. Like,
yeah,
absolutely. Let him in there.
I like it. Hey, we got a good feeling that somebody within the Steelers is watching or listening to this podcast. Maybe somebody in the NFL or the UFL gets wind of this episode as well.
I can send Doug Whaley a text. We can
there we go. Hey, he was on the show last season.
Who on the Steelers right now would you want to see play in the UFL?
Oh. Honestly, I got to look at the roster real quick here. My initial reaction, and he might be too good and he's played already, I just want him to play more football, is Corey Trice. That's where my mind goes to initially. I mean, hey, is Roman Wilson healthy? Yeah. Because, I guess him then, just to let him play some football.
Roman Wilson might be too good. Like,
there's a requirement on that too. Like,
I don't know. Like, I don't know that he would gain a lot from torching guys at that level. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just want the reps.
I want to see a season of Dylan Cook as somebody's starting left tackle.
Okay.
Like, I think I would be.
How about a guy that we? How about a guy that we talked about last year that was also a draft pick that had his entire rookie season wiped out, and Ryan Watts, who we thought could be a special teams guy.
There you go. That's a couple of really good picks there. I think both of those.
Probably right. Roman Wilson's probably a bit too good. It's just I want him to play some football before we get into.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't know how much he would have to gain from that experience, but
that's fair. Yeah. All right, let us know. I want people's thoughts on that, to be honest with you. I want to know who you guys would want to see in this UFL partnership that we're creating here. For all the wrestling fans out there, we got a WWE TNA type merger going on here, alone type thing going on. Alan, tell the people that you find you.
Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now sites account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the word so I can get paid. Use promo code Allen10 to sign up for an annual subscription to Steelers Now Plus. You get special access to my Southside Scoop articles, all the best stuff from DB, the whole rest of the team, and ad-free on SteelersNow.com, which is like the best thing in the world.
You got to lead with that. That's the better part.
I know, it really is. Like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel. Let's get to 15,000. Now we got to get there. Got to do it.
Yeah, what you said, it's less than 200 now. I didn't have it pulled up, looked at the exact number, but there we go. Yeah, so like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, subscribe, tell somebody else to subscribe. Just send this video, this specific episode to somebody and say, hey, check this out. Even if you're not going to watch it, just tell them to subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, you will find us there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing for like 2 more days, I think, on TikTok or whatever it is, something like that, unless somebody completes a sale within the next couple of days. I don't know, but still do it over there as long as it's working. And then follow me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders and myself. Thanks for jumping in and taking another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.